And how about Jeff Werner? Where's Jeff? Jeff, come on down. Producer and supervising editor. Phenomenal job. Randy Miller. Maria's not here. Maria's at dinner right now.
Okay.
And Randy did a great job on score. He's up for Best Score for the Love International Film Festival.
As is the film.
And yes, and Atta, thank you, Atta, for inviting us to screen here. You've done a fantastic job, so thank you. And Claudia Adams, to you for suggesting this and introducing me to Atta, so thank you. So now that we have half our audience down here.
Kenneth,
Yes.
my name is Carla with a K. And
I'm Ken with a K.
And it's so nice to meet you. And Patricia Mizen, are you gonna hang out with me here? And you introduced you, and why don't you all have a seat if you don't mind? We're just going to ask you a couple of things. Okay, so we saw Dr. Tom got married. I fell in love. I was ready to marry him. He was such an awesome. How did you find out about Dr. Tom?
Tom's a friend of mine from Brown University. We played football together. We're on the same defensive line, and we graduated in 1986 together. So this is very personal for me.
Wow, that was awesome. There were a couple of really spectacular visuals that I saw that, other than the story was just heart-wrenching and inspiring at the same time. That the hallucination, you remember that montage of visuals?
I remember it.
Yes, how did you accomplish that?
Well, that's a good question for Sarah. We wanted to, at that point in time, we wanted to show what a difficult time Tom had. We weren't there for that, so we actually had some footage that was shot because we left cameras there for Tom to use while we were there, to utilize. But we weren't there for that, so when it came to that, we had some loose footage. So then I'll hand it over to Sarah because it was kind of her creative.
It was editing? That was all in the editing, I'm sure. Okay.
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ken definitely knew that he wanted to include the fact that Tom has had malaria on multiple occasions, as the bishop says. It's something that stays with you year after year. And he had told a story about this really difficult bout with it that he had, where they thought he was close to death. So we knew he wanted to include it, but Tom was obviously not filming anything with his camera when he had malaria. So it became a question of how are we going to portray that, I guess, and that state of mind that he might have been in. And just going through the footage, I would just find random, strange shots that didn't seem to have much of a place, and I just sort of put them away and say, yeah, that might work for malaria. Shots of lizards, a shot of a praying mantis, a bug crawling up Tom's, scrubs, which is just bizarre to see. And just little things like that. And then you shot. Particularly, you just sat there. I don't know if you were testing your camera, but you sat there with those curtains in the window for this extended period of time.
That's all I did the whole time I was there.
That's right. It was a whole day.
Thank God I had
So you went to Sudan?
Yeah, I was there twice. I went twice. I had there were two trips. One's in February and March of 2014, and that was about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and then I went back a second time and filmed for 3 weeks. So I was there collectively for almost 6 weeks. But as I said, I left cameras behind, so we got some of the footage. Like Tom, literally, when the bombing takes place, he had the wherewithal to run from the theater, from the OR, into his office, open up the drawer, grab his camera out, go back, and had that footage. Of course, those were his fingers in the lens, and so that's how we captured some of that. So I went twice. My wife let me go twice. The second time, I was very surprised. By the way, that was her the end credit song, "Bloom," that she did so beautifully. So and she supported us. Yeah, she sang and she wrote. And Randy helped us with some of the recording of it, producing of it.
Okay, if you pass the mic, thank you.
I just said Sarah was a little bit modest in terms of what it takes to make a montage like that, because it's really a very seamless visual and emotional experience that's not just cutting together images, and if you watch it, you'll see how seamlessly the images appear, disappear. It's also an oral montage, and you have people's voices talking about the actual event of the malaria. So it's a really difficult thing that she did, and did very beautifully.
It was outstanding. It was truly
And
outstanding.
Tom has actually seen the film, and he was really taken by that scene. I don't know, yeah, he would, because he felt that it was surreal, and that's how it is when you have malaria. It's a near-death experience every time. So he was very impressed by it. I don't think I shared that with you. He shared that with me in Yerevan.
Okay, kudos to you. Another outstanding visual was the passage of time with the with the clouds, and same thing. Who captured all of that? The visuals you had. I saw that you had several camera people. Were they locals that you that used the cameras?
They were very local because no one in America was loco enough to go with me. We had several DPs here, cameramen that were interested in going, but did a little more research and canceled on me. So I finally found director of photography out of Nairobi, and he was willing to go with me the first time, but when I asked him to go the second time, he said, "Hell no, over my dead body."
Okay.
Because we were in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah.
So, and he captured some of those images, but putting them in the right place and telling a story with them is a whole different aspect, and that's what Jeff and Sarah did so effectively.
Yes.
I have a question. When you were there, were you?
Patricia, will you step over
Well,
here, please?
when you were there, were you scared? Like every day when you woke up, were you in fear of that might be your last day, or
Well,
what were you going through when you were there?
Yeah, it's a great question because when you operate in a war zone, it can affect you in the way you work. But I like to say there that it was very peaceful and very calm until it was not. It really lulled you at being there with these people. They're the most incredible, exceptional people on the face of this earth. They're so generous, and they're so kind, and they get along like I've never seen a group of people get along, especially in an area such as this. And so it kind of lulls you into this complacency that it's all fine and good, and it's a beautiful area, the Nuba Mountains. And so then you hear airplanes, then you hear gunfire in the distance. And so and I tell this story all the time, so I'll tell it briefly because most people here know it, that I was held at gunpoint in South Sudan on the way there. And I was lucky to get out alive. And so that's how I was really introduced to the region. That was South Sudan. When I got into Sudan, the drive up, which takes, it took me 10 hours to get up through riverbeds and through some rough area. My driver slammed on the brakes, jumped out, and jumped in a ditch, yelled something in Arabic, and so I followed him. And it ended up being Antonov flying over, dropping. Now the bombs landed 2.5, 3 miles away, but that was my introduction, being held at gunpoint and then having bombs dropped around me. So I was very aware of the fact that I was in a war zone. But once again, when you're filming, you're shooting, and when you're with your buddy from college, some of that just seems to go away. But there was reminders throughout, as you can see in the film.
Did you ever become kind of shaky with your commitment? Or were you all in and stayed all in?
Absolutely not. I was all in. There was no way that. But I was respectful of my wife and my family. When I came back, I came clean. I told her what happened, and when I told her it was time that I really needed to go back and get more story, this guy right here, Jeff, said no way, I can't go. But my wife said it was okay, and of course we had a large insurance policy taken out of it.
What was one of your most memorable experiences as you made this film?
One of the most memorable in Sudan was being with Tom Catena and seeing a man truly care about another human, about a part of the human race, these people that he had no connection with growing up, and to see him throw himself into a situation and show his humanitarian heart. I'll never forget that, and I tried to extract some of that and incorporate it into my life, into what I do, because a human like that just brings hope not only to this hospital but to a whole region. I mean, people know him throughout, and now he just won the Aurora Prize, which was $1 million in Armenia. $1 million for the hospital, and then $100,000 for him, which he most likely will just give to the hospital. So it's he's providing hope for the world. So being with him, being reunited with him, and being inspired by him, and then of course working with these guys on the film and creating this story, you know, after we compiled all this footage, putting it together, and then hearing the music being made by Randy, you know, which is an incredible score, which I was really sensitive to. Sitting in the audience with you, it was just fantastic, and he jumped right in. So everybody, I would have to say, was all in, and that's what you have to be with a project like that.
With the producer, how did you connect with each other? Please share your story.
Well, we did a film several years ago called Go Tigers, which is a story about a high school in Cleveland, Maslin, and how it was sacrificing its school and its education for its football team, rather than the other way around. And they were about to be closed down by the state, and they passed a levy because the football team had a winning season. And so they were able to continue the education of the kids, and the school kept open and was not taken under control by the state.
You just gave away the whole film.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's an old film, you may not see it anymore.
now.
And we've been in touch over the years, and then Ken called me and said that he had this idea for a film, and he had been to Sudan and had filmed Dr. Tom, and had put together, Sarah and him had put together 15 minutes of footage. Would I be interested in coming on and overseeing the post-production of it and the producing of the back end of the film? And I looked at the footage, and to be honest, I said, I really don't know whether we want to make another film about Africa and the problems of Africa. But then, I said that I think probably before I saw the footage, because when I saw Tom Catena, this guy was so without affect. He was so, I don't know what to say about him. He's a guy who you would just know, and he was doing this incredible thing. He was this ordinary man doing this incredible thing, which I thought was instructive. It was instructive to me, and I thought could be instructive to an audience. And we talked about, Ken and I sat there and talked about, this would be a film about altruism. This would be a film about what each one of us can do.
It was about love.
And about love, and love for the human species.
Absolutely.
And a little bit of an anti-war film and other things too. But the issues sort of were superseded by this guy who was a unique individual that I, in my life, hadn't really seen or heard. Just his voice, just the way he spoke, the words he uses, his self-deprecating way of being. What does a doctor say?
Humble.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What does a doctor say?
Yeah.
That's cool. I think I'll be cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we kind of had joining of minds, and I said I'm on board, and then Ken went back
bless you
and
for
shot
that.
some more.
Yes.
And we are truly blessed to have Jeff. He's just a great narrative mind, and has done this many times, and so he took the level up a few notches.
Well, there was Ratifa,
Yeah.
who was
Ratiba, yeah.
who was consistently pregnant. She was entertaining herself. I mean, you know, because I always say that sex is the cheapest form of entertainment. So she was clearly entertained, you know, a lot.
If there's one thing you take away from the film.
But it was wonderful that we got into Dr. Tom's personal life.
That was by the way, a complete and total surprise to me. I was shocked when I was interviewing him and he came clean. Having spent hours under the Sudanese stars and talking till 2 a.m. in the morning, weeks upon weeks, and talking about everything in college and what our life's like, and he really wanted to know what it was like to be married and have children and all of this stuff, and there was one thing he forgot to divulge, and that was that he was in love with this woman that was in nursing school in South Sudan. So that was a betrayal.
Yeah, I felt betrayed too. I was ready to marry him.
And what was great, we didn't put it in there. There's 10,000 plus people at the wedding that came to this, and his brother went over to marry him, and it was just a I didn't unfortunately get to be there for that, but it was just one of those momentous occasions, and brought once again hope to that area. And so he's quite a legend there. I mean, it's the closest I've ever come to
And he's
being
still
around a
there?
saint. Oh, he's there. He's
I just want to
there.
say that I love the way the film ended with the birth of a child. I mean, that just, everything about the film, the way it was edited, the way it was shot, it came full circle with life, love. He was so selfless, and what his father said about him, he has nothing, but he has everything. That is a powerful statement that we
It's true.
all can take away.
Amen.
Because you can have so much money, you can be the richest man in the world, and be miserable, have nothing, be bitter, be ugly, and not be a giving heart. And he is a pure example of how we should live our lives. I really, truly
You
believe
got
that.
it. You
He's
nailed
an
it.
inspiration.
So if you're inspired at all by this, you can go onto the website, heartofnuba.com. There's many ways to support the hospital, certainly through donation. There's a big donation button, but you also can reach out to your elected officials, congressmen. You could be, and we have ways to do that on the website. You can become a witness. You can create a peer-to-peer campaign where you can raise money. But we've raised through this film over $200,000. We haven't gotten it out yet, and it's going to be out soon in November, theatrically. So we're very excited about that. So we're gonna, but we've raised a lot of money and a lot of awareness. And I'd like to say, as most people in the audience know, that because this film we got it into the hands of Omar Hassan al-Bashir. He has seen the film, and his primary reason for the ceasefire that was enacted declared in February was the Heart of Nuba. So when people ask you, do you think you can do something, if you're going to make a difference, you can make a difference with, so yeah, it's a big deal.
That's
And
a
it's
beautiful
been 5 months now, and they're sticking to that. And so there's a lot of other factors that go into play, sanctions, the threat of the sanctions coming back, and the Trump administration's a wild card, and there's famine in South Sudan, so there's people, escaping South Sudan, going into Sudan, they don't want to bomb, but the primary reason, according to the administration, Bashir's administration, is the Heart of Nuba. So, very
And you
proud of
also
that.
had the support of Maria Shriver.
Maria Shriver, yeah, she came in and executive produced, and
How did you get her attached?
she was someone that I knew through social circles, and she heard me talking about this film, and she's a strong Catholic, and she said, "Can I see some of it?" And she, we showed her a few frames, and she got excited about it and jumped on the project from the get-go.
I thought I was going to see Oprah attached there too for a minute.
We hope she will. So anyway, I know
Thank
people
you.
have things to do, so
Thank you so much.
thank you, Atta.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Great job.
We'll see you at the awards night.
Awards on Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Thank you very much.
Salon
Carla
Theater.
with a K.
Thank
Atta
you
has
so
a few
much.
words.
Ken
Our
Carlson.
founder,
God bless
Atta.
you.
I just wanted to invite all you guys because of Heart of Nuba to Saturday night award party,
Awards show and
and your guest of Heart of Nuba.
Heart of Nuba.
Heart of Nuba. I can't.
Nuba.
Heart of Nuba.
Anyway, your guest, you don't have to, if you want to come over there, donate, fine. If you don't want, just come over there. Go to the info at LIFF.info and put your name down so your name would be in the guest list. You will be your guest.
The guest of Atta.
Thank you guys for coming.
Okay. Thank you so much. God bless everybody.
Thank you.
Be safe getting home.